While not entirely a unique concept, the Cargo-Tram of Dresden in eastern Germany was an innovative means of transferring freight across the city in order to supply the brand new and iconic transparent factory of Volkswagen, creating what was essentially an elongated conveyor belt that would quietly and efficiently do the work of multiple lorry loads while saving on congestion. The story of the Cargo-Tram begins prior to the reunification of Germany in November 1989, as despite the capitalist Federal Republic of West Germany and the Communist German Democratic Republic of the East being politically opposing, the two nations were inexorably tied economically, with the primary connection between the two countries being the vast motor industry of both sides. Following the collapse of East Germany in 1989 and the reunification of the state into a single nation, the Volkswagen Group, as one of the main car manufacturing firms of Germany, was quick to establish itself in the former Eastern Bloc, starting just 6 days after the inner German border opened, with the offer of breakdown assistance for the Trabants and Wartburgs crossing what was once the frontier, while on December 22nd of the same year, Volkswagen announced long-term plans to begin production of their models from a dedicated factory in the east. From May 1990, Volkswagen Polos would start to appear from the production facilities of the former IFA factory in Sachsenring near Zwickau, alongside last-of-the-line Trabants, followed by the Golf from the same factory in February 1991 and the Passat saloon car from 1997, while a dedicated engine factory would be built in Chemnitz, the Sachsenring vehicle factory becoming one of the most modern car plants in the world, with a variety of ergonomic handling devices helping to avoid physically demanding work processes. In 1997, amid the 1 millionth new Volkswagen being built at the Sachsenring plant being delivered, the car builder proposed the creation of an additional factory in the former East German city of Dresden, creating early proposals as to what would be dubbed the Glaserne Manufaktur, or Transparent Factory, so named for the fact that this facility would be clad in 300,000 square feet of glass in order to allow as much natural light onto the production line as possible, in stark contrast to the often claustrophobic and dark reputation associated with car factories. Located in the Altstadt district of Dresden, just east of the historic city centre, the Transparent Factory, aside from its ethical architecture, would also be focused on supporting environmentally friendly alternatives to its general operation, specifically the transport of parts and mechanics between the new car plant and the Friedrichstadt Logistics Centre to the west of the city. Volkswagen proposing that, instead of using trucks to transport the equipment, they should instead exploit the fact that the new factory would be positioned immediately adjacent to the line 1, 2, 4, 10 and 12 tramway on Stubel-Allee to the north of the site boundary. Working along a route that would travel 2.5 miles through Dresden's city centre, the proposal would be to utilise specially constructed freight-carrying trams that would be far more efficient and environmentally friendly than the use of trucks, with an agreement being signed between Volkswagen and Dresdener Verkehrsbetriebe, or Dresden Public Transport Company, in March 2000, with 2 dedicated tram units to be built by Schalke Eisenhütte Maschinenfabrik of Gelsenkirchen at a cost of 6.5 million Deutschmarks each. With the factory connected to the regular tram line from a junction just east of Strasburger Platz tram stop, the first tram was officially introduced on November 16, 2000, with test runs being conducted from January 3, 2001, this coming ahead of the official opening of the Transparent Factory on December 11th of the same year, with Federal Chancellor Gerhard Schröder performing the ceremony, Volkswagen having invested approximately 365 million Deutschmarks into its construction, while 60,000 tons of concrete, 16,000 tons of steel, and 20,000 square meters of gas had been input into the expansive and cutting-edge facility. The Cargo-Tram units comprised 2 bidirectional vehicles consisting of 5 segments in a standard formation of 3 all-freight units and 2 combination freight and control units, with the driving units being capable of carrying 16,500 pounds of car parts, while the middle trailers could carry 33,000 pounds, the total capacity of the Cargo-Tram being approximately 7,600 cubic feet, or the equivalent of 3 fully loaded articulated lorries. The running gear for the Cargo-Trams, based on the simplicity of their operation, was recycled from out-of-service Tatra T4 trams of the communist era, as produced by CKD Tatra of Prague in the former Czechoslovak Socialist Republic, while the bodies were newly built, all axles were driven, and power was collected via a pantograph on the lead driving vehicle. Cargo-Tram schedules were hourly throughout the day, although in times of peak demand, these could be reduced to every 40 minutes if required, while due to it having no intermediate stops, several routings through the city centre could be used to avoid causing congestion on the main passenger tram routes in the Old City, with the main route being from the logistics centre in Friedrichstadt via Postplatz and Grunauerstrasse to Strasburger Platz and finally on to the factory, while a diversionary route via the Hauptbahnhof was also available. Under official DVB designation, the Cargo-Tram represented Route 58 of the tram system, and despite it not stopping for passengers, electronic displays at tram stops would flash this route number in order to inform passengers of its approach and that it wouldn't stop for customer pickup. Upon the entry of the Cargo-Tram into service, the main employ of these vehicles at the transparent factory was to provide parts and mechanics for the Volkswagen Phaeton, a controversial machine that was essentially the company's attempt at delivering a luxury car under the Volkswagen brand, providing an affluent driving experience and interior on par with the likes of Audi, while the platform and many of the interior trimmings were carried over from the Bentley Continental. The Phaeton, however, proved to be a car somewhat antithetical to the concept of Volkswagen's mantra for affordable driving, while also being considered a pointless exercise due to the fact that the Volkswagen Group already had the Audi and Bentley luxury brands within its domain, thus leading to very little commercial interest, its hopes of winning over the American market through the provision of what was essentially a less expensive Audi being dashed when the model was removed from sales in the United States during 2006, while for Europe, the car would struggle on until March 2016. However, during its initial peak of production, 44 Phaetons per day were constructed at the transparent factory, travelling along an oval-shaped assembly line that was nearly a mile in length and featured a driverless transportation system that moved the car chassis and parts along a recessed track using 60,000 magnets, while the computer-controlled system employed sliding fish-scale surfaces that moved seamlessly, automatically sensed obstacles, and stopped when necessary, a majority of the Phaetons built at this facility being destined for China, South Korea, or the domestic German market. Unfortunately, the success of the Cargo-Tram was intrinsically tied to the success of the Phaeton, with an original service pattern of 30 services per day being envisaged when operations began in 2001 alongside the start of Phaeton production, though once it became clear that the car was not the market-beating model hoped for by its progenitors, the tram service was cut down to just 10 services per day by 2003. By 2015, this had been reduced further to only 3 runs per day, as the Phaeton was prepared for its removal from production, the factory being re-geared from March 2016 to assemble electric versions of the Volkswagen Golf, while service patterns for the Cargo-Tram were now only conducted sporadically. By the turn of the 2020s, Volkswagen had opted to switch production at the transparent factory to the ID.3 electric car, and in so doing led to a change in the plant's logistics, whereby components sourced from across Europe could now be consolidated at Volkswagen's Zwickau plant, with the Dresden site's requirements met by the dispatch of fully loaded lorries from Zwickau directly to the transparent factory, thereby reducing the number of daily lorry deliveries to Dresden from 25 to 4, with the potential also for Volkswagen to use fuel cell trucks between Zwickau and Dresden from mid-2021. Therefore, in the face of this change in policy, combined with the fact that the Cargo-Tram units were becoming costly to maintain and suffering frequent breakdowns, Volkswagen chose not to renew its contract with DVB to run these trams along its network, and while the service was proposed to formally end on December 23, 2020, one of the trams was involved in an accident with a van at the entrance to the transparent factory on December 10th, and with the other set unable to fill the role of both units, the Cargo-Tram operation was ended prematurely. While DVB stated that they had placed an offer to procure the former Cargo-Tram units, with the intention being to either put them to work as postal units, work cars, or rail grinders, no progress was made as to their purchase, and as of December 2022, the 2 tram cars remain in store at the DVB tram depot, while the last freight tram service known to exist in Western Europe is the Fahrplaner Cargo-Tram in Zurich, Switzerland, which started in 2003 and provides a waste removal service across the city from 10 dedicated collection points 7 days a week. Ultimately, the Cargo-Tram, while not unique, was an interesting concept as to the provision of a sustainable and eco-friendly alternative to lorries when it comes to the conveyance of freight across cities with tram systems, these machines illustrating during their brief careers their ability to quietly and efficiently ply their trade through the historic streets of Dresden, and setting an example for many other urban areas that could potentially introduce similar operations should the circumstances be appropriate.